Well, today we're gonna continue with our series of trainings to support the integration of the energy efficiency first principle in the regional and local energy policies. So last week we started with stage 1 on preparation, and today we're going to present stage 2, engaging stakeholders and building partnerships. The training module was prepared and will be presented by us, which means Lisp, Menea, Fine, and Klube. The content of today's session will try to solve the questions on why engaging stakeholders, how to identify your stakeholders, and how to prioritize them based on your needs. We're gonna see the methods of analyzing the stakeholders and different communication strategies and approaches. Building partnerships is an important aspect of interaction with our stakeholders, and last but not least, monitoring. But to make the session more interactive and target-oriented, we're going to make use of online polls, and in this way we are also going to start. So on the right side of the presentation, you can see the QR code. You can use it. You can go to menti.com and use the code that is written on the slide. And okay, now I'm gonna switch or just to quickly, because I didn't do it before, in the chat there's also the link, so you can directly go to Mentimeter. And okay, so now you should see the poll. Okay, so the first question is, why do you believe we need stakeholder engagement? Why are you engaging with your stakeholders? What are the reasons, the benefits you see in involving stakeholders in your initiatives? And as you already figured out, I can see just write on keywords. Okay. I think we already have some keywords, and okay, more is coming. Okay. In general, what I see are the words we're gonna hear quite a lot today. I can see we're all on the same side when we are discussing about stakeholder engagement. Collaboration is one of the keywords here, and also transparency, needs, influence, robust communication. These are all the words you will hear throughout today's session. And okay, thank you for now. I'm gonna switch back to the presentation. But keep the online poll open, because at the end we're gonna do another round of questions. But to go back to our topic, we're going to start with the question, why engage with stakeholders? But first, about the definition, a stakeholder is an individual or an organization that can positively or negatively affect our initiative, and engagement is counted as any interaction with our stakeholders. Stakeholder engagement is a dynamic process which involves individuals, groups, and organizations who are impacted by the local energy planning decisions. And the idea behind is to move from let's say the traditional decision-making models to models where collaboration and community involvement stands in front. Okay. Local energy planning is a process that requires considerations beyond the technical aspects, and therefore stakeholder engagement is important for several reasons. On one side, to identifying various viewpoints and concerns, stakeholder engagement acts as a crucial feedback mechanism which reveals viewpoints and concerns that might not be apparent through technical assessments alone. By incorporating the insights of various stakeholders, planners gain a holistic understanding of the social, economic, and environmental dimensions of energy initiatives. And on the other side, we engage stakeholders to ensure a fair representation in the decision making. A cornerstone of democratic governance is the principle of just representation, and stakeholder engagement fosters inclusion by ensuring that a wide range of perspectives ranging from community members to businesses and environmental advocates is considered in the decision-making process. This is contributing to a more representative and fair outcomes. Sustainable energy initiatives often require the active cooperation and support of the community. Stakeholder engagement not only informs the community about the benefits and impacts of energy projects, but also provides a platform for residents to voice their concerns and aspirations. Engaged communities are more likely to understand the rationale behind energy decisions, leading to increased support and collaboration. Here we have the ladder of participation, which is focusing on choosing the appropriate type and tools in different circumstances and contexts to succeed communication and public influence on decision making. The engagement ladder is a tool to build relationships over time to deepen stakeholders' commitment to a project. The first step of the ladder is focusing on information. The community of stakeholders is informed of the processes and solutions through newsletters, websites, project introduction, brochures. It's more of a one-way communication with no public influence. The next step is consultation, where community of stakeholders provide us feedback on alternatives or their proposed solutions. It's about asking for public opinions and ideas, and we can make adjustments to and decisions according to their feedback. It's a two-way communication with limited influence on the public. That can be done with we're using for this purpose polls, surveys, message boards, interviews, and so on. The next one is collaboration. It's about sharing responsibilities with citizens, working together and making decisions collaboratively. It's a dialogue-based communication that can moderate, influence the public. The most common communication and collaboration techniques are forums, event organization, distributing tasks, idea collection, voting, volunteer actions, making decisions together. And the last step is to empower, which means that final decisions are in the hands of the community. It's about providing information, informing people, obtaining feedback about the process, and implementing any decisions. Therefore, it's a dialogue-based communication that can completely influence the public. And the most common technique is to organize events for citizens and implement decided citizen proposals. Engaging with your stakeholders has its advantages, but also challenges. Here are a couple of them to be considered. Informed decision making, stakeholder engagement taps into, let's say, collective wisdom, ensuring that decisions are well informed and consider all the different perspectives. As a result, it leads to more comprehensive and sustainable energy plans. Engaged communities are more likely to accept and support energy projects. Through involvement, stakeholders become advocates rather than adversaries, which reduces their resistance and enhances the project acceptance. Stakeholder engagement fosters a sense of ownership and empowerment with the community. It's only logical that if residents, businesses, and organizations actively participate in shaping the energy initiative, they feel a more deeper connection to it and to its outcomes. As said, there are also challenges we need to consider and keep in mind. Among them, conflicting interests. The challenge here is that stakeholders may have conflicting interests. Therefore, an open communication, negotiation, and finding common ground are essential here. Establishing transparent processes for conflict resolution fosters collaboration. And the next challenge is limited time and resource, which are one of the main challenges, as effective engagement requires both time and resources, and therefore strategic planning of the main challenges and effective engagement or strategic planning, resource allocation, and leveraging technology can maximize the impact of engagement efforts while addressing time and resource constraints. And the last challenge I would like to focus on is on establishing and maintaining trust, which can be challenging. Consistent and transparent communication, authentic engagement, and delivering on promises are key strategies for building and sustaining trust. Now we're going to move to chapter 2 and 3 on identifying and analyzing stakeholders.
Thank you, Roman. Hello, everyone. My name is Nicolina, and I'm coming from Regio1st Energy Agency. And we will now continue with chapters 2 and 3, which are related to identifying and prioritizing stakeholder and analyzing stakeholders. Next slide, please. Next. Thank you. Successful planning requires effective coordination and collaboration among various stakeholders. So planners should identify key stakeholders involved in the regional energy planning process. Among others, stakeholders can include energy agencies, utilities, local authorities, businesses, industry, community organizations, environmental groups, energy expertise, and citizens. Next slide, please. An understanding of different profiles and characteristics of each stakeholder groups and individuals can be developed by systematically seeking to understand their relationship to the policy in terms of, next please, in terms of their knowledge of the issues relating to policy, their existing relationship with the design, implementation, and assessment of policy, how the policy affects, their perceived power and ability to advance or hinder the design, implementation, or assessment of the policy, or the participation process. Next, please. In terms of their relationship with other stakeholders and interests, their expectation of stakeholder participation, their willingness to participate, and in terms of their type of organizations. Next, please. Identifying stakeholders and understanding their priorities, interests, strengths, limitation, influence, and potential impact is essential for ensuring that the regional energy plan addresses local and regional needs for empowers all relevant priorities to contribute to the region's just energy transitions actively. Next, please. So the identified key target groups are EU institutions, EU member states, regulatory bodies, electricity producers, transmission system operators and distribution system operators, regional and local authorities, customers and citizen groups, research institutions and academia, and NGOs. Next, please. Stakeholders identified early in the process can help identify further stakeholders and appropriate methods for their participation. So it may be necessary to revisit stakeholder identification throughout the whole process if new information becomes available when the context for or the detail of policy change. During the identification process, data like the aim and the activities of stakeholders, how the stakeholders can influence the energy planning process, what is the necessity of its involvement, its level of influence and interest in energy issues, and finally, the level of expertise are important information that should be included to assist the stakeholder analysis. Next, please. Mapping stakeholders helps to determine which groups and individual representatives are most important to engage with concerning the purpose and scope of the participation. Various methods can be used to map stakeholders, and two common methods are the rainbow diagram and stakeholder metrics. The method that works best for the context should be used. Next, please. Next slide, please. Sorry. The rainbow diagram is often used to understand the extent to which stakeholder groups are affected compared with the extent to which they are influential. And the rainbow diagram can be adapted to understand any differences between stakeholder groups. Next, please. And second method is stakeholder matrix. Can also map stakeholders by understanding the relationship between the stakeholders and the policy. The level of interest and influence of stakeholders will depend on various issues, such as the nature of the policy, the time and extent of their involvement, and their ability to affect the outcomes. The stakeholders are mapped according to their level of interest in and the level of influence over the policy. Next, please. Boxes A, B, and C in matrix are the key stakeholder of the policy, and the summarized implication of each box are: for box A, these stakeholders are important for policy success. Box B, the interest of stakeholders may need to be protected. Box C, this stakeholder can affect policy outcomes, but their interest in policy is not necessarily aligned with overall goals. And for box D, limited monitoring and engagement are needed for this group of stakeholders, although they should be kept informed.
Okay, thank you very much. This is so we will continue and we will discuss about the communication with the stakeholders and how to build partnerships with the stakeholders. So as mentioned before, please go to the next slide. As mentioned before, it is really important to have an effective communication with the stakeholders in order to ensure the success of any energy project, especially in an energy project that has to do with the energy efficiency first principle. So it involves a multi-phased approach beyond disseminating information to actively engaging stakeholders, fostering trust and maintaining transparency. There are several methods that we can have. There are several communication channels that we can exploit in order to have a better communication with the stakeholders. But the most important thing is to have a robust communication plan which will be the backbone of the stakeholder engagement in order to ensure that information is disseminated clearly, consistently, and purposefully. The choice of the communication channels is critical in reaching diverse stakeholders effectively. Utilizing digital platforms such as websites, social media, enhances accessibility and allows for regular updates and announcements. Face-to-face meetings provide a personal touch, fostering deepened connections, while newsletters and reports summarize the progress milestones. Next slide, please. So there are several types of communication. One of the most effective types of communication is the two-way communication that involves feedback mechanisms, involves active listening, and involves interactive workshops. The two-way communication builds trust by demonstrating responsiveness and commitment to addressing stakeholder concerns, implementing effective two-way communication with a strategic way. So the feedback mechanism could be like surveys and questionnaires, it could be like open forums. The active listening could be like designated contact persons. So, for example, you can appoint a dedicated individual or a team to address a specific stakeholder. I think that is what already has been done in the regional workshops that we have done for the Regio1st project. And also it can be done through interactive workshops with the scenario planning workshops and the joint decision-making workshops that we have also exploited during the regional workshops of the Regio1st project. Concerning the what it should be done, it should be done tailoring communication to specific audience groups, which is a fundamental aspect, as already mentioned, for successful engagement. In local energy planning, diverse stakeholders such as community members, technical experts, business and government agencies have a unique needs. So we need segmentation, which involves the community members, which involve the technical experts, the businesses and the governmental agencies. Also, what it is needed in order to have the maximum benefits of a clear communication plan, it's the proactive engagement with a well-defined plan, as mentioned before, that will enable the proactive engagement and minimize the misunderstandings and will foster the sense of inclusion. And also what we need is timely information, by meaning that stakeholders should receive timely and relevant information, maintaining interest and support throughout the entire planning process lifetime. So next slide, please. The selection of the engagement tools or methods requires careful consideration since the effectiveness of engagement activities is highly dependent on the actual context of implementation. So when choosing a particular tool or a method, several factors should be considered, including the objectives to be achieved and the stakeholders to be involved. Therefore, the first task to be performed before deciding any of the tools or any of the specific methods that should be used, as they appear here in the slide, we should analyze and understand the local context. We should profile the local actors. We should identify and map the key stakeholders that should join the participants process, and we should clearly define the objectives of the engagement process. So here we can see several tools, methods, and strategies for the community engagement. Based on the target group, appropriate methods should be selected. So we have the community workshops and forums, which could be open discussions, Q&A sessions, and hand-on activities. We have, sorry. That's okay. We have the community surveys, which are focusing on gathering feedback through community surveys for informed decision making. That can be done either via questionnaire or via personal interviews. If we want qualitative or quantitative research, depends what we'll need. So that could be via targeted questions, anonymous feedback, or data analysis. That could also be through role-playing exercise by communicating energy concepts that allow stakeholders to practice effective communication, and that interactive exercise aims to improve communication skills, address concerns, and have a specific tailored messaging. Also, it could be creative sample community engagement, which can assist to develop a comprehensive community engagement plan for an energy project like the Regio1st project by having a specific objective, which could be clearly define the goals of the community engagement, such as building awareness, gathering input, and fostering collaboration. That could be through communication channels by choosing the appropriate platforms for reaching the community, including social media, community meetings, and online forums. And we should have a specific timeline or a specific schedule for engagement activities, considering key milestones and community events. Finally, as mentioned before, we should have focus groups and the stakeholder advisory committee in order to bring together small groups of stakeholders with similar interests to discuss specific topics or issues, facilitating setting. And as appear here, and as it is really important to say that all the methods and techniques, they're not appropriate for all kind of stakeholders. So we should try to find the proper method for the proper stakeholder group. And also, of course, there are several other methods like the open cafes, the living clubs. So based on the engagement that we would like, and based on the stakeholder that we would like to engage, we should focus, we should decide which is the best tool and method that fits to our project. So next slide, please. But sometimes what we are trying to do is not that successful. So we should have a crisis communication plan to address unexpected challenges and maintaining stakeholder trust. A well-executed crisis communication plan helps to preserve stakeholder trust during challenging times. So we should be prepared by identifying potential crises. we should be also prepared to establish responsible protocols in order to develop clear and actionable response protocols to address crises promptly. And we should have a transparency in crisis communication by open communication. So we should also have open lines of communication during the crisis, keeping the stakeholders informed about the current situation. And we should acknowledge the responsibility when necessary and communicate steps taken to address that kind of crisis. Next slide, please. So the next topic, it will be about how to build all those partnerships. So engaging your stakeholders and creating partnership stakeholder groups brings together the relevant people and organizations for your policy development or policy change that we intend to plan, like here about the Article 3 of the Energy Efficiency Directive about the energy efficiency first principle. This is the main step of creating participative approaches for policy design, development, and implementation. Having all relevant stakeholders together provides a solid foundation in the policy development process, but getting the right people together can be also very challenging. So, what should be the 4 main steps that should be considered? The first step is identifying who should be involved with mapping your stakeholders. The second and really important step is to engage the stakeholders with the previous methods as we mentioned. So based on the stakeholder, we should use the proper method. After that, we should structure the group to respond to different needs based on their needs and based on our project needs. And finally, is to identify the right local coordinator in order to avoid any kind of crisis and to have a trustworthy cooperation with the stakeholders. What I would really like to say that is really important to have advisory committees. So those advisory committees will assist in order to have decision-making powers in order to contribute the development success of energy planning actively, and should also assist in engaging a diverse stakeholder, and all kinds of stakeholders will be representative in any kind of ongoing input. So what are the main strategies for collaborative decision making? As mentioned, it will be the brainstorming sessions, it will be the interactive exercises and the structured dialogues. The brainstorming sessions should encourage participants to generate ideas and solutions collectively, fostering creativity and inclusivity in decision making. The interactive exercises will use activities and simulations to foster creative thinking and collaboration. And finally, the structured dialogues, they will provide the framework for the stakeholders in order to express their opinions and find the common ground. As I told before, it is really important to have an advisory committee in order to engage the diverse stakeholder representation. And also, it is really important to have a consensus building with the aim to utilize techniques to reach agreements that satisfy multiple stakeholders, like mediation services that will introduce neutral third parties to facilitate dialogues and resolution, like conflict resolution strategy to provide tools and techniques for stakeholders to address conflicts constructively, and with the decision matrices by using to evaluate options and make informed decisions. So what are the benefits of all those? Is the enhanced decision quality, is the increased stakeholder support, and the reduced implementation challenges.
Okay, let's move to the last chapter.
Hello. Hello, everyone. This is Francisco from FINE. I'm going to share with you a short presentation about the last part of the stakeholder engagement plan. This is the monitoring plan part, and we're going to see some key points, the options, the possibilities, how to manage all these points. Next, please. Yeah, the main function and objectives are to ensure the effectiveness, sustainability, and adaptability of regional energy policies, while fostering positive long-term impacts on local communities and environment through transparent communication and stakeholders integration. Next, please. It's important to know the starting point of this task, and this is the event report. This is where we are going to find and recover all the information about the feedback from stakeholders, concerns, suggestions for improvements, and things like that. And as well as that, the potential risks that we can identify. That's why it's really important to inform them during the event how to fill it in the proper way with the most information as possible. Next, please. Well, these are the contents of this presentation. First, we're going to talk about the establishing of the KPIs. Then we're going to see the different possibilities to put all this into practice. And finally, I will show you a regional example in Asturias, Spain, where we have developed the Asturias Observatory for Just Transition. Next, please. Well, regarding the KPIs, we can divide it in 3 groups according to the level of stakeholder satisfaction, another group of KPIs to know the community perception, and a third group to recover information about inclusivity. In the first group, we can use surveys and feedback forms to collect quantitative and quality data, by open-ended questions to recover suggestions, and by periodic reviews to assess the evolution over time. In the second group, we can do the monitoring of the public sentiment about energy projects by social media analyzing, for instance, online discussions, by participating in community meetings, and with monitoring of digital media of energy initiatives. In the third group, we can consider KPIs to recover demographic data of engagement stakeholders by regular assessment of the different group engagement and ensure that the opportunities are accessible to all stakeholders. Next, please. We have to know that this is an active plan and we have to adapt and improve the strategy continuously. To do this, we have to notice 3 main points. We have to adapt the plan accordingly by regular meetings. The strategy has to be flexible due to future issues or concerns. We always have to learn from challenges to improve for future actions. In another point, we have to take decisions for future actions according to the feedback recovered. That's why established feedback mechanisms are needed. We have to review periodically the actions and the decisions according to the stakeholders' input. And as we said before, we have to adapt the engagement strategy according to lessons learned. Finally, the last point is to invest the stakeholders' capacity. And to do this, we have different options. For instance, offer training programs by different sessions, disseminate educational materials, and establish empowerment initiatives to increase the stakeholders' contribution. Next, please. So, with all this information, when we are developing a monitoring plan, we can follow the next steps and consider the next points. First, identify the best or the properly KPIs we need. As we said before, this must be aligned with the goals established in the local energy planning process. The KPIs must be relevant and useful for all the groups of stakeholders. And it's necessary to find a balance between quantitative and quality KPIs to recover enough measures data and feeling perception. Next point, to establish a continuous monitoring, we need to regular assessment and be able to detect change or needs or concerns and take decision of adaptation. That's why we have to be prepared to make adjustments in an agile way. In this way, feedback loops facilitate ongoing communication, options, and suggestions. Learning and improvement process is continuous. And to do this, regular sessions to review challenges must be established and adapt the strategies to address in the right way. We have to consider methods and surveys as questionnaires to recover holistic data or even other methods could be interviews with stakeholder groups. And finally, we need to use methods to evaluate and to understand all the documents that recovered. Finally, the last point is to define the best mechanisms for feedback from stakeholders, establishing channels for communication and feedback as online platforms, websites, periodically community meetings, and emails. For instance, a useful tool can be a digital platform to receive anonymous comments. Next, please. Well, in the last point of this presentation, I'm going to show you an example of monitoring created in Asturias, Spain. This is called the Asturias Observatory for Just Transition. Next, please. First, just an overview of the current situation in the region. We are involved in an energy transition process, and the goals of this process are the reduction of CO2 emissions without reduced economic activity, without employment reduction, and with the engagement and collaboration of people and workers. Next, please. Next. Yeah. The main function and objectives of this observatory is to evaluate the evolution of KPIs related to the just transition process in Asturias, integrating the participation of citizens, entities, and social organizations, providing the greatest possible transparency. Next, please. Here you can see the logo of this observatory and the web address where you can check and find all the information. This will be accessible for general public in a month. Next, please. Here you can find more than 500 indicators related to energy, climate, employment, economy, etc. And all of these KPIs are organized in these three groups: energy, environment, and territory. Next, please. In this slide, you can see an overview of the target for each KPI and the current value. So you can check quickly the current situation of each one. For instance, the reduction of primary and energy consumption, employment, investment, and so on. Next, please. This slide is an example of how you can select different group of KPIs in the lateral menu, and the additional options of obtaining a graphic of this type. Even in this one, you can check the evolution through the time. Next, please. Well, in summary, the observatory is a software specialist in the analysis of regional energy systems to monitoring and evaluation of regional energy planning. What we expect from this tool in the future? We expect to make possible to verify each individual objective and also its contribution to overall objectives set out in the strategy. Next, please. Finally, the goals of the Asturias Observatory for Just Transition are, first, the monitoring of 4 strategies and the Just Transition Plan. It looks for engagement of stakeholders working together with all the actors, public administration and private sector, total transparency, and for sure an open participation to the community. That's all from my side. Thank you very much.